Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about extroverted feeling. This is the third cognitive function that I've been defining. So this is the dominant cognitive function for ESFJs and ENFJs, and it's the secondary cognitive function for ISFJs and INFJs. If you don't know what a cognitive function is, I have a Myers Briggs 101 playlist that I'll link in the description, and that would be a really good starting point before getting into this video. So let's get into extroverted feeling. So this is going to be kind of the rundown. So first I'm going to take a look at the quotes of some of the major players and what they say it is. So Carl Jung is kind of the one who kicked off this whole system. So we're going to start with him in his 1921 book, Psychological Types. Then I'm going to get into Vanderhoop. And Vanderhoop's an important player. Myers and Briggs quoted Vanderhoop many times in their books, Gifts Differing. So I am going to quote Vanderhoop and Myers and Briggs in both of their books, Conscious Orientation and Gifts Differing, respectively. And then I'm going to combine all of the themes and all of the key words to see, okay, like what's the general consensus the extroverted feeling is. And then I want to get into kind of caricatured vibes. So in a picture in 2023 in American culture, what's the vibe of this? If we really kind of play up the stereotypes and play up the characteristics, what's the vibe of extroverted feeling? So I want to get into Jung's words. So this quote says, "The valuations resulting from the act of feeling either correspond directly with objective values or at least chime in with certain traditional, customary, and generally known standards of value. They're under the spell of traditional or generally valid standards of some sort." So the word objective values, objective means external. So they correspond directly with external values. And he was saying that even if they don't feel like they're in line with traditional values, usually there's an undercurrent. So customary things. So like in America, Christmas is a big thing. So really in line with the customs of the place. Don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics. That's kind of a custom of America. So they generally keep in line with those things, and he talks about that they see those things as self-evident. It's not that we need to decide should we talk about politics, but we've already decided we don't talk about politics. As an example, maybe the FE user has a different one in mind. And I want to mention that this is describing full force extroverted feeling. So you as an individual are not full force extroverted feeling. Like if extroverted feeling was blue paint, you as an individual, you have maybe NI to couple it with it. So you mix your blue paint, your yellow paint, maybe you're a little green. So you're this green color, and then you're hearing me describe this blue color, and you're like, that's not quite me. But that's because it's true, it's not quite you. This is definitely an incomplete picture of who anyone is. It may feel constrained, for instance, to use the predicate beautiful or good, because it is fitting and politic to do so, and fitting it certainly is, inasmuch as a contrary opinion would disturb the general feeling situation. So he's talking about that sometimes they don't say a painting is beautiful or good because they internally think it's beautiful or good, but they might do it because they're at a guest's house, and so they say, hey, look at this painting on my wall, and it would be rude to say, hey, you have an ugly painting in your house. So everything to them is the outcome is what's important of the general feeling situation and not disturbing it, and it's kind of one of these, the ends justify the means. A feeling judgment such as this is in no way a simulation or lie. It is merely an act of accommodation. As such, they are genuine and represent the total visible feeling function. So there's a few things in here, because they will go on later to say that people think that there's something insincere about FE users. But what they're setting up here is it's not a lie, it's not a simulation. This is actually genuine to them, and they're just being accommodating. It's a nicety. So it's not that they're being fake, but they're being accommodating, and they are genuine. And I thought this was interesting. They represent the total visible feeling function. Because in the extroverted thinking video, the other extroverted judging function, they said it was thinking which attains visible form. So I might kind of postulate the extroverted feeling is feeling which attains visible form. Maybe it's a hug or giving someone a compliment, or it's something with an outcome, a harmonious outcome. Her feeling has become developed into an adjusted function, subject to conscious control. This is very interesting. It's like control, a very adept control at adjusting how you feel about things in accordance with how others feel about things, and able to control it. I think FI users might not understand, or at least I don't, maybe I won't project, but I don't understand the ability for conscious control over feelings. There are a couple phrases here. Human warmth, principal charm, speak to the heart. Now, these were all phrases that were within really lengthy quotes that I think were kind of redundant. So I just pulled out these pieces that these were important. The FE users have this warmth and charm and speaking to the heart. Without this feeling, for instance, a beautiful and harmonious sociability would be unthinkable. So there's a couple quotes where they share just how important FE is to community and to social ability, and the world would not be as beautiful and harmonious as it is without FE users. This kind of feeling is very largely responsible for the fact that so many people flock to the theater, to concerts, or to church, and what is more, with correctly adjusted positive feelings. So I think he's kind of saying that like FE likes these social groups and is once more with correctly adjusted positive feelings. This theme of correct feelings will come about, this word correct. Many, many times they talked about correct feelings, correctly adjusted feelings, and positive feelings. There is a bent toward FE to look at the positive side of things and to correctly adjust oneself to see the positive in things. One can feel correctly, however, only when feeling is disturbed by nothing else. But nothing disturbs feeling so much as thinking. This is one of those very interesting times that the feeling and thinking are at odds with each other, because feeling is trying to create a harmonious environment in this case, and thinking is trying to determine what's correct and what's incorrect. So as soon as you point out something that's incorrect, you are detracting from the harmonious environment. And so there's this push and pull with feeling and thinking that becomes very evident in these FE quotes. So this next quote has kind of some context. So they talked about that maybe someone will voice a controversial opinion or a thinking thought, just piggybacking off this disturbing the feeling. And so then the FE user might be kind of harsh with them, like, hey, you've disturbed the feeling environment. So this is kind of the context that we come to this quote. So maybe the person who voiced the thinking thought, the observer, begins to reserve his own opinion. So after it being squashed and being kind of harshly dealt with, that you've been unharmonious, they'll begin to reserve their own opinion. But since with this type, the FE user, it is a matter of the greatest moment to establish an intensive feeling of rapport with his environment, redoubled efforts are now required to overcome this reserve. So the FE user it's kind of a self-defeating thing that happened with the FE user. So they want this harmonious environment. So then they squash the thing that's not harmonious, but then that person doesn't feel like they can speak. And so then the FE user's working even harder. It's like, well, why aren't you talking? What's wrong with you? Are you upset? And there's this kind of like checking in. It's this self-defeating thing, which I found kind of interesting. Corresponding with a degree of dissociation between the ego and the momentary state of feeling, signs of disunion with the self will become more or less evident. To others, they ring hollow, not convincing. This is kind of one of the first quotes talking about the disunion with the self, or to others, they're sensing a hollowness of the self. A thinking is suffered to exist as the servant of feeling, or more accurately, its slave. Its backbone is broken. It may not operate on its own account, in accordance with its own laws. So this is part of several quotes where they talked about they might have a very logical argument, and I would piggyback this with TI. They might have a very logical argument, but he had a quote that they don't realize that actually they started with the feeling and built the logic to come under subordination to the feeling. Okay, so now I want to get into Vanderhoop. So we just went through Carl Jung. Now I want to get into Vanderhoop. The extroverted feeling type lives entirely for contacts of feeling with other people. Like that's their life purpose. They're living, if you were FE in isolation, no other functions, entirely for contacts of feeling with other people. His feeling attitude assumes a form which is generally approved in the community. So it's like if you want to achieve a feeling contact with other people, you gotta have approval from the community, you know what I mean? It's not like you're gonna have good feelings with people if they're disapproving of something. All the actions, thoughts, and observations of people of this type, however, governed by the effort to establish relationships of feeling with other people. All the actions, thoughts, and observations are seeking feeling relationships with other people. In this, feeling constantly seeks expression and tries accordingly to arouse corresponding feelings in others. So I feel like they're really taking like the initiating stance, really trying to, arouse good feelings in other people. The fine shading, they mentioned this, there were in many quotes, they mentioned the fine shading, the delineation between different types of emotions in other people. Like the difference between mad or angry or just these fine shades, particularly in other people, noticing the fine shades. The fine shading of their own emotional life enables them, moreover, to read the feelings of others from the smallest indications, revealed in an adjustment of their own reactions to such feelings on the part of other people. So this really shows, like, they are really tuned into other people for the smallest indications of emotional change. Based on what they are tuned into, they will adjust themselves on behalf of the other people. And so it's one of those things where it's genuinely accommodating. It's a kindness that based on whatever's going on in that other person, they will adjust themselves to whatever the person needs at that time. As a result of this swift understanding of the attitude of others and of the immediate adjustment of their own reaction, extroverted feeling is extraordinarily valuable in social intercourse. I really like that phrase, social intercourse. But there are many times that they say over and over again how extraordinarily valuable FE is to relationships and the community at large. There is a vital need to find corresponding feelings in others. This is interesting. It's like a sameness. Like our feelings need to correspond. We both need to be harmonious. We both need to be feeling the same thing about things. In their judgment of others, this may easily lead to exaggeration, their tendency to idealization, making them ready to overlook faults. So this is one of the first, maybe, things where we can see some issues with FE, especially when they idealize loved ones. So it talks about, like, kind of logic being subordinated to extroverted feeling. And so that part of submitting that logic to extroverted feeling is extroverted feeling primarily cares about the close relationships. So if people that you really love have some faults, you might exaggerate their good qualities and hide their bad qualities and idealize them and overlook faults. Relationships are conceived in a somewhat ideal form. This means that anything which fits in with their feeling life is strongly emphasized, and anything which does not do so is ignored. So yeah, it's another one of those. Really emphasizing and exaggerating the good qualities in those that they love and ignoring the ones that they don't. Everything is repudiated. I don't know what that word meant, so I put it in parentheses here, refusal to accept. So they refuse to accept, both in the loved one and in themselves, anything which might disturb the harmony which is necessary to them. If as a result they manage to conceal from themselves certain marked characteristics, it gives an impression of something artificial in their harmony. So it's throughout these quotes, there is a constant push-pull with the genuine goodwill and the artificiality, that they're constantly pulling these two things apart. The demand for harmony may at the same time give rise to repression and dishonesty. Not intense expression of feeling, but a fine shading of expression. We're back to this fine shading. Such a woman will never do or say anything to disturb the harmony of her environment, but on the contrary, will create and reinforce it in all kinds of small ways. Creating harmony, reinforcing harmony, taking a very active stance to not disturb it, so not only passive, but active. This is something that, like, full strength FE will do. I think, like, kind of a secondary strength FE, when it's not developed, it's kind of cautious and not disturbing, but once you get the full strength FE, it's creating it, it's reinforcing it, it's taking a very active stance. In children of this type, they idealize their parents, for instance, to a marked degree and refuse to hear anything against them. At the same time, they very soon find out the soft spots in the feelings of persons in their environment. I have found this children section so fascinating because with extroverted thinking, we saw the children were trying to be authorities immediately. In children of FI, we saw that they were gentle and dreamy and kind of quiet and reserved. Now, the thing that they make mention of in FE users and children is them idealizing their parents and refusing to hear anything against them. So there's definitely a theme with FE of really wanting to assume the best in people that they love and really focus on the good qualities, and also a denial and refusal of anything that comes against them. I personally have talked to FE users, and they might talk about their parents, and they might briefly say something negative, but they very quickly follow it up with, but they tried their best and they worked really hard. And it's usually, even if they didn't have the best parents, it's usually painted in a fairly positive light. And if it was a extremely bad situation, then they tend to not bring it up at all, in my experience. When anything happens which touches on feeling, an individual of this kind finds it impossible to be a simple onlooker. He helps to create the atmosphere by the way in which he gives himself up to every impression. This is like any time there's something that's going to touch on feeling. Like I'm thinking of like a wedding or a birthday. When anything happens, it's going to touch on feeling. They're not just going to be an onlooker. They're going to create the atmosphere. And this phrase, he gives himself up. It's almost this, it's this self-sacrifice for other people. To me, it's like, I'm going to cheer you on. It's your wedding. Like, I'm going to give myself up. I'm not going to be an onlooker and bystander. I'm going to create that atmosphere. They possess a peculiar gift amounting to genius for giving expression to what everyone is feeling at the time. They readily arouse response in others. When I think of some of the best FE users, someone that really comes to mind is Taylor Swift. And when I think of her, I think that a big part of her success with her songs is that she arouses a response in others and gives expression to what other people are feeling. An individual of this type really only sees himself in his own life as reflected in his relationships with other people and in their opinions of himself. Hence, he is very susceptible to praise and criticism. They may give themselves up with extraordinary self-sacrifice and devotion to those whom they love and to the purpose which they have set themselves. Yeah, this self-sacrifice, this devotion, this will come up in more ways than one, but yeah, definitely in the very practical sense of giving themselves up to those they love. There's an extreme outward other focus and a self-sacrificing focus. Okay, so now let's move into Myers Briggs. Myers and Briggs are the ones I think that spoke the most positively, in my opinion, about extroverted feeling. The extroverted feeling types radiate warmth and fellowship, and they have a vital need to find corresponding feelings in others and to meet a warm response. This phrase, over and over again, corresponding feelings. They have a need to radiate warmth and fellowship, and they need that in other people. They need the corresponding feeling of warmth and fellowship. They need it, this corresponding feelings. Is very interesting. They enjoy admiring people and so tend to concentrate on a person's most admirable qualities. Their intense concentration on other people's viewpoints sometimes makes them lose sight of the value of their own. So it's an extremely positive outlook on the other, especially with the close loved one. Adapts the individual to the objective situation. Has as its goal the formation and maintenance of easy and harmonious relationships with other people. Expresses itself easily and so shares itself with others, creating and arousing similar feeling and establishing warm sympathy and understanding. So we're getting just more of this vibe. They're taking a very active stance in creating an environment that's harmonious with warm sympathy and understanding. Has a tendency to suppress the personal standpoint entirely and presents the danger of becoming a feeling personality, giving the effect of insincerity and pose. This is just more of the same thing, just this push-pull, like, hey, you know what, you need this thing, so I'm adjusting myself to you. But then when I adjust myself to meet your needs, it's like you're calling me insincere. But that is the thing, it's when you're so other-focused, then people kind of wonder, who are you really? Like, what's going on inside there? And this is where, whatever introverted function you couple with extroverted feeling, that's where this comes in. This is just talking about extroverted feeling in a vacuum, as if there were no other functions to go along with it. Are friendly, tactful, sympathetic, able almost always to express the feelings appropriate to the moment. So yeah, more of these warm qualities, and also appropriateness to the moment. There's been a lot of quotes about adapting or doing what's appropriate for the moment. Are sensitive to praise and criticism, and anxious to conform to all legitimate expectations. So it's like, yeah, if we have a legitimate expectation of kindness, okay, I'm going to conform to that. When faced by the same cold, inharmonious fact, extroverted feeling denies its existence, and introverted feeling condemns its existence. This is something I find this to be a very interesting, contrasting quote. We talked about in the previous video, introverted feeling with the brutal world kind of condemns things, kind of the social justice warrior. Like, no, it's not going to be this way. Extroverted feeling takes a different stance and will, in other quotes they've said, ignore it, repress it, denial. There's kind of this general theme of avoidance of negative things for the sake of kind of amplifying this positive atmosphere. It is harder for them than for other types to look squarely at things that they wish were not true. Actually, it's even hard for them to see such things at all. Okay, so now I wanted to get into some of the key words. So the first number one keyword by far was harmony. It was used many, many, many times. So like the keyword for extroverted thinking that I saw over and over again was system. The keyword for FI was misunderstood that I saw over and over. For FE, it's harmony, and forms of the word harmony all over the place. Create harmony, never disturb harmony, reinforce harmony, harmonious sociability, demand for harmony. Their goal is the formation of harmonious relationships. The next thing that I saw was embracing, anything like any welcoming people in or creating an atmosphere to welcome people in. So we have sympathetic, friendly, warmth, welcoming, charm, speak to the heart, intense feeling rapport with the environment. Create an atmosphere which touches on feeling. Creating and arousing warming sympathy and understanding. Establish relationship of feeling with others. So this is something that I so appreciate about FE users, just bringing you in, making you feel like family, anything to embrace you. Community. So much of what was talked about was in relation to others. So like when we were reading about FI, you didn't even really hear about other people that much at all. You heard about, in general, the brutal world, but not really others. But in FE, it's everywhere talking about others, whether it's parents or fellowship, theater, church. There were some quotes I left out about how great teachers they can be, valuable in social intercourse, approved by the community, traditional or customary values, objective values, meaning like external values, family. So much of it is a other focus and an external focus on the other. Atmosphere curation. So there's so many quotes about their active role in curating in a harmonious environment. It's not just avoiding negative things, but it's intentionally putting good things out there. So creating harmony, reinforcing harmony, tries to arouse feelings in others, the corresponding feelings in others, won't disturb the feeling situation. The next thing was self-sacrifice. And I've seen so many quotes about how other-focused they are and how much they will sacrifice themselves with others with maybe like acts of service or even their own viewpoint. Lose sight of own viewpoint, dissociation between ego and external feeling. Others are kind of their mirror. There was that quote about reflecting back to themselves. Self-sacrifice for those they love, suppress personal standpoint. So to some extent, it's, a sacrificial service for others and really doing everything you can to create this harmonious environment. It's a very noble aim. And some of these quotes are suppressing how you personally feel on things, kind of avoiding it, not seeing it so that you can focus on the harmonious environment. The next theme was accommodating. So many times it talks about like whatever the other person needs. So it's like I will notice a minute change in you and then immediately I will change accordingly. So tactful, whatever is fitting, appropriate to the moment, adapts to the situation, feel correctly adjusted positive feelings, adjustment and reaction, conscious control of feelings, adjusted function of their feelings, accommodation, politic, read the feelings of others from smallest indications, sensitive to praise and criticism. So basically all this is they're taking the emotional temperature and then they're going to adjust accordingly, whatever ingredient is needed to up the harmonious atmosphere. And sometimes, different times call for different measures. Affectation. So this is something where I put the definition there. Behavior that is artificial or designed to impress. So they talked about, I think it was Carl Jung talked about that they are genuine and they're not lying. They are actually trying to help other people. But I couldn't get away from that there were so many quotes about others viewing the FE user as insincere, putting on a pose, politic, hollow, not convincing, dishonesty, artificial impression, exaggeration. So there's a lot of quotes about how other people might feel that they're hollow because they're only focusing on positive things, not, the FI users are like, the real stuff is all the brutal world. How come we're not talking about the sad stuff? Admiration. This was a huge theme. Idealize their loved ones, idealize their parents, concentrate on admirable qualities, enjoy admiring people, idealize others, ready to overlook faults. And so they're constantly looking at the positive, having the correct positive feelings. That was one of the quotes. And especially with the ones who are closest to you, if you want that harmonious environment, you're going to spend a lot of time with these people. So you want to focus on the positive and the good things. And it's nice to be admired. I've heard a lot of FE users really talk so highly of like their spouses in particular. They speak so highly of their spouses. Okay, this is the last one. This is kind of the negative one. This is the theme that kept coming up, and it's It's hard for them to see what they wish wasn't true. Refuse to accept certain marked characteristics. Denial of cold, inharmonious facts. Ready to overlook faults. Repression. Ignore what doesn't fit into extroverted feeling. And contrary opinions disturbs. Okay, so now I want to get into one slide, so I'll remove my face in a second, but if you want to screenshot this, I've been kind of building one of these for each of these, so if you have like a friend who's like a beginner, or if I was going to show this to someone who's a beginner, this may be where I would start, like this is the general vibe about what extroverted feeling is. So I took words from the quotes, and especially repetitive words, and then I'm putting them on this slide. So we've got harmony, embracing, welcoming, community, set the tone, self-sacrifice, accommodating, inviting, admiration, common ground, read the room, fellowship, tactful, friendly, appropriate, devotion, charm, warmth, speak to the heart, social intercourse, relationships, family, loved ones, sympathy, approval, rapport, customary. And I feel like this does a good job of kind of articulating what extroverted feeling is. You know, I don't have extroverted feeling, and there was a Carl Jung quote. The first thing that he said, actually opening it up, was basically like, it's hard for FI users to understand. If you have only been operating through the world with subjective feeling, it's going to be very hard to understand. So I think that that's true in my case. But I chose this picture. It's two people. They're coming together over food. I find that like if FE users wants to do things that are harmonious, and especially things that where they live are kind of customary, and I feel like no matter where you are, food is a crowd pleaser. Like food brings people together. It's something that's very harmonious. So we got these two people, they're smiling, they're talking, and it just, you get the vibe that there's a good rapport in that image. That's why I chose that image. So now I want to get to the vibes. So this is just like a caricature. I've like taken the stereotypes or whatever, I've just kind of amped them up. Like what could this look like in 2023? So the first picture in the top left are some bridesmaids. Like what I wanted to point out, like why I chose this picture, is that FE users don't want to be onlookers when there are events that touch upon feelings. So this could be a wedding or a baby shower, but if there's going to be an event that really has good feelings, they want to be there. And I feel like they're great people to have at weddings, great maids of honor, great best men. They will really make your day so special. For special occasions, FE users are so kind to have around, the self-sacrifice that they have. So definitely bridesmaids, groomsmen type vibes I definitely get from FE. The next picture I have like a charcuterie board and wine. I so often see FE users gathering together with wine in particular. Wine is the drink of choice. And I'm not sure if it's just that maybe beer is too trashy, or wine is a crowd pleaser, everyone likes wine, or maybe if you're religious, you don't want hard alcohol, or, I'm not an F user, so I don't know what the reasons are, but there seems to be something with wine that maybe it's not too controversial, it brings people together, it's going to be a good time. Meat and cheese, who doesn't like meat and cheese? Crowd pleasers, bring people together, it's easy. The next picture is just people coming together around a table, and it's a relatively big table, I guess. 6 people fit around it, and I find that FE users have a big space to entertain. Like even when I had a roommate house, there were like 7 of us living in one house, and none of us had any money. We're like poor college students. Still, the ESFJ that I was living with was entertaining so much. Still, we had a big table, even though we like couldn't fit like anything in this house. So like it doesn't really matter the money. Like they will find a way to like entertain. The next picture, I wanted to point out this outfit, particularly the shoes. There's something about these like booties, like the short kind of boots or these short kind of like heels that are very FE. I think what it is, this outfit's pretty put together. It's pretty crowd pleasing. Like no matter who you are, maybe they get rid of the ripped jeans. Maybe the ripped jeans could be controversial. But you're not going to be called, like wearing this outfit, you're not going to be called trashy. Like you look cute. You're probably going to get a compliment. You look cute and you want to and it's versatile. You can wear it to if it's something kind of dressy. You can wear it if it's something kind of casual. So I think I see this type of thing with FE users a lot. I'm really caricaturing at this point. I think that like with this outfit, it's very safe. The worst you're going to get is like, it's basic, maybe, but no one's going to say that to you. And so I feel like it's a crowd pleaser. So I feel like this type of outfit, you seem approachable, you seem nice. In the bottom left, I just had a living room similar to the dining room table that I talked about. I tend to notice that they have space for entertaining, or they would like to. So like a sectional, for example, it seats a lot of people, something that seats a lot of people. And then you know, they like harmonious customs. So in this case, like Christmas, like in America, Christmas is a big deal. So, you know, you come into that house, that feels really warm. That feels really inviting. That seems like a good time waiting to happen, that Christmas house. You know, you've got, you know, maybe the pillows say love or Merry Christmas. And so it feels welcoming. It feels like home and inviting. And I feel like they're constantly trying to make things feel at home. The next picture is from Fast and Furious, and I wanted to focus on Dom, who Vin Diesel plays. And I don't know, you know, with movie characters, it's kind of hard to type because they act kind of inconsistent. You have some of the actor's personality and the character's personality. But at times he exhibits a lot of FE when he talks about, like, we're family, and family means everything. And I'm gathering these people around the table. Some of these people are blood relatives. Some of these people are found family that we kind of strays that we picked up along the way. And I'm bringing people in around a very large table. You know, when we didn't have a lot of money, we did it. When they do have money, they do it. And just bringing people together. And whenever he talks about family in those movies, I get very big FE vibes. The next picture is someone doing the dishes. I notice a lot of FE users doing the dishes. Now, I think this is just because they want to create a harmonious environment. And so bringing people around a table with food is really going to achieve that. But when you bring lots of people around a table, there's going to be a lot of dishes. So someone's going to have to do the dishes. So, and I feel like they have this self-sacrifice. They want people to have a good time. And, you know, I guess dishes aren't a good time, you know. I notice a lot of times FE users will come over to someone's house. If they weren't the host, they'll volunteer to do dishes. It's like a customary polite thing. Or if they come over to someone's house, they'll bring flowers or a candle or something. You know, customary things that are polite, that show gratitude, that kind of praise the other people. I think they're sensitive to praise, and they also give a lot of praise because they want it to be a harmonious environment. So I think that they like to facilitate group interaction, and sometimes it feels like they're directly involved, but, you know, sometimes they're like facilitating. So I've seen them take either role. Sometimes they can be like a busy bee, you know, everyone's around the table, meanwhile they're getting people drinks and they're kind of buzzing around and then doing the dishes later while people are still talking. I've seen them do different things depending on the time. And then the final one, I have the sign, welcome to our home. So I find that, you know, a lot of this is very people-oriented and very home-oriented and food-oriented. And anything that shows this is a welcoming place, you are invited, I embrace you with open arms, you're welcome here, this is a harmonious environment. So signage, like, this is a little outdated at this point, but like live, laugh, love. I saw a lot of FE users with live, laugh, love at the time. Some of this is bordering on a little outdated in the style of it, maybe like 5-10 years ago, but I think it's still relatively current, changing a little bit the style of some of these things. So this is if FE was like full pigment paint. So like you as an individual are not exclusively FE. You know, you've got NI, you've got SI. So if something in here doesn't resonate with you, it could be your specific combination. You took FE, you mixed it with NI, you took this blue paint and yellow paint, and it became a little green. So you watch this video about blue and you're like, I don't know that I'm quite like that. I'm a little green. And it's because this is just full pigment FE. And in addition to it being exclusive FE, maybe you have FE second, maybe you're an IFJ. And so Extraverted Feeling, this full strength blue paint in a FE user that's secondary, take a little white paint, and so it's more like light blue. So I'm explaining full blue, but maybe you're a little light blue and you mix it with a little yellow, and so you get your specific flavor and your mileage may vary. These are just some things that in the culture, in American culture in 2023, there's some things that I'm observed, but certainly your mileage will vary and it will depend on your experiences and how things have affected you. So this has been my third video in the series. I've already done TE and FI if you want to check those out. If you want to check out my Myers Briggs 101 playlist, I'll link that in the description. I also just made a playlist for every single personality type. So if you're an INFJ and you want to see every video that I've made that could apply to you, any INFJ video, I will have those linked in the description as well, so you can check those out. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Bye.